At the heart of silence, the eternal word. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the Gospel of St. John, chapter 1, these immortal lines appear. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and darkness comprehended it not. Human vision beholds individuality and separation everywhere. Vision beholds the oneness of cosmic vibration, of which all things, no matter how diverse, are manifestations. Cosmic sound, the Word of God, and cosmic light, these are eternal. The world as revealed to us by our senses is illusory. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda relates an early experience he received of the divine aspect of reality. Sitting on my bed one morning, I fell into a deep reverie. What is behind the darkness of closed eyes? This probing thought came powerfully into my mind. An immense flash of light at once manifested to my inward gaze. Divine shapes of saints sitting in meditation posture in mountain caves formed like miniature cinema pictures on the large screen of radiance within my forehead. Who are you? I spoke aloud. We are the Himalayan yogis. The celestial response is difficult to describe. My heart was thrilled. Oh, I long to go to the Himalayas and become like you. The vision vanished, but the silvery beams expanded in every widening circles of infinity. What is this wondrous glow? I am Ishvara, I am light. The voice was as murmuring clouds. I want to be one with thee. Out of the slow dwindling of my divine ecstasy, I salvaged a permanent legacy of inspiration to seek God. Wise are we if we meditate on that experience of Yogananda's and salvage from it even a breath of his inspiration, for, quite simply, there is nothing else. As the Bhagavad Gita says in the 7th chapter, I make and unmake this universe. Apart from me, nothing exists, O Arjuna. All things, like the beads of a necklace, are strung together on the thread of my consciousness and are sustained by me. Thus, through holy scriptures, God has spoken to mankind.
Buongiorno a tutti. Buon nuovo anno. Felice compleanno di Yogananda, felice Kriya. Sono state delle feste meravigliose qui ad Ananda. No, non voglio tanto scusarmi, ma vedete tutti che ad Ananda ci sono un po' di dolori di crescita, ci manca spazio. Spesso il tempio non è grande abbastanza, la sala da pranzo spesso non è grande abbastanza. Ovviamente abbiamo dei programmi, delle idee, tutto programmati. E quindi chiedo le benedizioni e le preghiere di tutti voi per la crescita qui ad Ananda. Ciò che ci dà la più grande gioia è condividere questi insegnamenti. E stiamo solo un po' toccando la superficie della profondità di questi insegnamenti. Oggi Swami Kriyananda nella lettura dice, ma cosa c'è dietro al buio degli occhi chiusi? E Swami scrive lì, la visione divina vede l'unità della cosmica vibrazione ovunque.
Think of not as something that's one, but actually something that's dual or duality. Vibration is movement. But Swami says that the cosmic light and sound of Om is an eternal truth. But everything in the world that is revealed to us by our senses is illusion. But the truth is that yes, that's true, but there is also, very interestingly, cosmic memory. So even though all the forms that we see around us right now are transitory, our bodies, these buildings, the trees, everything on this earth really comes and goes. But there is a memory of everything. Yogananda explained it this way, that yes, it's true that Jesus and John the Baptist were Elias and Elijah. But he said, if we pray to Jesus now, in fact, Yogananda said, you can pray with such force and concentration that he will literally appear to you. Spirit manifests the form of Jesus, not Elijah or Elias. Everything is from this cosmic essence or cosmic consciousness. I just wanted to read this Gita quote again. I make and unmake this universe. Apart from me, nothing exists, O Arjuna. All things, like the beads of a necklace, are strung together on the thread of my consciousness and are sustained by me. In the autobiography of a yogi, Yogananda gives us this wonderful explanation. Soul and mind instantly lost their physical bondage and streamed out of me like fluid piercing light from every pore. My sense of identity was no longer narrowly confined to the body, but embraced the circumambient atoms. The unifying light alternated with materializations of form. The Spirit of God, I realized, is exhaustless bliss, and His body is countless tissues of light. These experiences might seem so vast and far away from our reality. And it's important that we remove that thought from our mind. Because that light that all these masters talk about is right behind the darkness of closed eyes. And the darkness of closed eyes exists only because of oscillations of the mind. And that's why all the masters teach us that we must still the mind in order to know these spiritual truths. The truth is that there are two aspects to spiritual realization. And this title hints at that. At the heart of silence, the eternal word. The eternal word is Om. So again, we speak about silence, but we also speak about Om. And this is interesting. This is how Sri Yukteswar explains that. It is the Spirit of God that actively sustains every form and force in the universe. Yet He is transcendental and aloof in the blissful, uncreated void. He exists beyond the worlds of vibratory phenomenon. Saints who realize their divinity, even while in the flesh, they know a similar twofold experience. There is a part of you and me, the part that says, I am. And that part is never actually fully realized by us in these bodies. Because Patanjali says the true self is obscured by the oscillating mind. So the mind tells us, I am a man or I'm a woman, I need breath, I need food. Like Swami always said, the mind tells us, or we assume via the mind, that we are a bundle of these self-definitions. But this self that we're talking about, this sense of I am, this is the words of Master, exists whether the universe does or does not exist. This self was never born. This self will never die. We need to meditate on this for the rest of our lives. You were never born. You will never die. This life is no different than a dream that we haven't woken from yet. It reminds me of an interesting event that happened when I was younger. One of my friends was a construction worker. And on their construction site, a live electrical wire came onto him. He was electrocuted. And he's on the ground, he was being electrocuted. So they grabbed a long piece of wood and they hit the wire to make the wire come off of his body. And there he lay, seemingly dead. They worked on resuscitating him. He finally took this big breath and he came back. He jumped up and he was absolutely furious. Why did you bring me back? He said the experience he was in was absolutely phenomenal. He had no desire to come back. We think this life is so real. And we, of course, rightfully fear it because we don't know what's on the other side. But we can know the other side. And we know it by spiritual union. Yogananda says, you can see it with your own eyes. That this world is only particles of light. These particles make individual picture forms of the one great light. This is the one great light that is everywhere. That's what's on the other side of the darkness of closed eyes. The problem is that death doesn't necessarily win us this realization. So it's better not to assume that, oh, I'm pretty busy with this life, but I'll catch up with my salvation later. And it's easy to think that way because this is what's in front of us right now. The Old and the New Testaments speak of this one light. The Old and the New Testaments. And the New Testament you've heard me say many times. His name shall be in your forehead. And you need no light of the sun, nor the light of a candle. For the Lord God giveth you light, and you shall reign forever and forever. And in Isaiah, in the Old Testament, it says, the sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither the moon at night. The Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and God shall be thy glory. The masters come and try to lead us. They try to help us awaken. And our challenge is simply to still the mind. And because we all don't do that very easily, the other side of the coin is to serve. If we could still the mind, we could forget this little self, this ego self. But also by serving others, we learn to forget the self. We serve God in others. Yogananda said it's an unbeatable combination. Because we have to serve, because the process of quieting the mind is a slow process to learn. Everybody in this room can commiserate with me. Well, I'm sure we've all tried it. We can sit with the most strongest resolution that I am going to sit in the silence. And often not even 10 seconds later, our mind has already It takes practice and practice and practice. And the yogis discovered that if we attach the mind to the process of the breath, that helps. Affirming a particular seed thought helps. Chanting the same thing over and over, it helps. All these help us to become or to develop single-pointed concentration. And by developing single-pointed concentration, then we arrive at stillness. My mother used to tell me, it's not good to meditate. It's not good to blank the mind. And she's right. Meditation is much different than blanking the mind. It takes an extreme amount of concentration. It's much different than a vague passive emptiness. But even though it takes time, it's important that we practice, because you will succeed. The other thing that I often hear Why would you want to spend time not thinking? It's so common when people don't know that's going to be their thought. Yogananda says, you have no idea the universe that is waiting behind these rotating thoughts. Again, like Jesus said, if the mind is one or single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. And the yogis say you have to do that in order to develop the sense of intuition. Then the inner light can be seen and felt. So I told this last week in one of my classes, but not everybody was there, so I'm going to tell it again. There was a particular disciple of Yogananda's. He was young and rather new. And he saw Yogananda after a particular Kriya initiation. There were a few of the older monks who were standing in front of Yogananda. And they had asked Yogananda if he would give them the sight of the spiritual light. And Yogananda said, all right. So he thought, I want this. So he went right up and got in line. There was 2 or 3 of the monks. And when Master had blessed the 3rd monk, and he walked away, Yogananda opened his eyes and said, Leo, not you too. Leo said, see, sir, yes, sir, please, show me the light. Master said, all right. So he said, try to still the mind. For a long time, Yogananda's finger vibrated here at the spiritual eye. And finally, Yogananda said, do you see it? Do you see it? And Leo said, no sir, I don't see anything. And Yogananda said, to the left. And Leo said, oh, I see it. And then Yogananda said, bring it to the center. And right when Leo said he got it to the center, Master withdrew his finger. He gave him the taste. But the point is, and he said, I had to go very deep to get through the restlessness of your mind. I don't say this to discourage you. But he said, even a flicker of, like a candle flicker, even a mental flicker is enough to keep God away. So rather, that isn't to discourage, that's just so we know. That's how much we have to develop our concentration. There is the observer, the eternal observer.
c'è l'osservatore, l'eterno osservatore.
And that is the essence of you and me.
Questa è l'essenza tua e mia.
And it cannot drown, and it cannot burn.
Non può annegare,
It was
non può bruciare,
never born, and it will never die.
non nasce, non muore.
We have all of these experiences, and we enter into this state of absorption, and we think we are these bodies and these experiences.
Abbiamo tutti noi tutte queste esperienze, così entriamo nel corpo e pensiamo io sono questo corpo, io sono queste esperienze.
And we think that exact same thing in a dream.
E la stessa cosa pensiamo nel sogno.
And when we wake up, the dream goes.
E quando ci svegliamo il sogno se n'è andato.
Maybe just a few of the really highlights of the dream stay.
Forse solo alcuni momenti importanti del sogno ci rimangono.
Sometimes nothing of that dream stays.
A volte niente del sogno ci rimane.
It's just like this incarnation.
È come questa incarnazione.
You're going to understand, we can see the worst accident and think it's so horrible.
Possiamo vedere anche l'incidente più brutale, diciamo, questo è orribile.
A man dies in a machine, is caught in a machine, and it looks terrible to us.
Un uomo tutto intrappolato in una macchina e sembra proprio terribilissima la cosa.
And Yogananda says he jumps up on the astral plane, rejoicing in the fact that there's continuation of awareness.
Ma lui, dice Yogananda, lui salta sul piano astrale e si gode alla grande questa continuità di consapevolezza.
Some souls, he said, don't even look back. This is their new reality.
Alcune anime, lui dice, non guardano neanche indietro, questa è la loro nuova realtà.
We have to look at the big picture.
Dobbiamo vedere un po' il quadro più grande.
If this is a dream, I want to wake up.
Se questo veramente è solo un sogno, voglio svegliarmi.
Again, and I learned this well from Swami Kriyananda.
E di nuovo, e questo ho imparato benissimo da Swami Kriyananda.
It doesn't mean you have to negate this life.
Non vuol dire negare questa vita,
It just means don't become overly absorbed.
vuol dire non farti assorbire troppo.
Just always be a little aloof, just like Sri Yukteswar described.
Prova a essere sempre un pochettino distaccato, come lo ha descritto Sri Yukteswar.
You wake up and you realize, oh, I had a dream. I was dreaming.
Tu ti svegli da un sogno e dici, oh, ho avuto un sogno, stavo sognando.
We want to touch that prime reality that says, I am eternal existence itself.
Vogliamo toccare questa esistenza primordiale che dice, io sono l'esistenza stessa.
And when you know that,
E quando lo sai,
and according to everything the masters say,
secondo tutto quello che dicono i maestri,
it is that light that that gave birth to creation.
è questa stessa luce che ha dato nascita alla creazione.
That is the light and the life of men.
Questa è la luce e la vita dell'essere umano.
And that is what Jesus became one with.
E Gesù si è unito con questo.
And that is what each one of us becomes one with.
E con questo ci uniamo anche tutti noi.
And in that light, then you'll know the Father.
In questa luce tu conosci il Padre.
Jesus said it, the Old Testament said it, then you know, then you reign forever and forever.
E Gesù lo ha detto anche nel Vecchio Testamento, c'è scritto, allora regnerai per sempre e per sempre.
When you touch the light, you know your eternal nature.
Quando tocchi questa luce tu conosci la tua natura eterna.
Then you don't care, you don't fear death on this plane.
E allora non hai più paura della morte su questo piano.
In fact, as Master said that the verse in St. Paul, I die daily, that's what we want to do.
San Paolo, come ha detto San Paolo nella epistole, io muoio tutti i giorni, vogliamo fare la stessa cosa.
Die to this world,
Muori a questo mondo,
invite the light of Spirit,
invita la luce dello Spirito.
and don't be discouraged if you don't see it immediately.
E non scoraggiarti se non la vedi immediatamente questa luce.
But don't give up,
Ma non arrenderti,
because there are incredible blossoms, incredible flowers along the way.
ci sono fiori e fioriture incredibili che ti aspettano lungo la strada.
Consider it a process,
Considera tutto
have patience with you, yourself? Swami said, it's rather defeating if we say, okay, I'm in peace.
È un po' come una sconfitta quando tu dici, ok, adesso sono in pace.
And then we realize that we were thinking.
Ma poi ci rendiamo conto, oh, sto pensando.
And if we go, oh, damn.
No, mannaggia, ancora sto pensando.
He says, there goes your peace.
La tua pace se n'è già andata.
Very gently bring it back to the center.
Invece molto dolcemente riporti l'attenzione al centro.
It's so natural that the mind will wander. We've never been taught otherwise.
È tanto naturale che la mente vaga, perché nessuno l'ha mai insegnato.
Bring it back gently,
Sempre dolcemente riporti l'attenzione.
over and over. Just like push-ups, your muscle gets stronger.
Sono come flessioni, i tuoi muscoli un po' alla volta si rafforzano.
Every time you bring it back, you're strengthening your ability to concentrate.
Così ogni volta che riporti l'attenzione indietro, rafforzi la tua capacità di concentrare.
This is a new year.
Questo è un nuovo anno.
The world needs a whole bunch of light bearers.
Il mondo ha bisogno di tanti portatori di luce.
The world needs every one of you to stand in the light.
Il mondo ha bisogno di ognuno di voi in mezzo alla luce.
You don't have to say anything to anybody. You just have to be an example.
Non dovete dire niente a nessuno, solo essendo un esempio.
Be in your center.
Sii nel tuo centro.
Everything you think, try to invite that light behind this world, behind your thoughts.
Ogni cosa che pensi invita questa luce che sta al di là della materia e dei pensieri.
The light behind the sun.
La luce che sta al di là anche del sole,
The light behind the wind.
la luce al di là del vento,
The light behind the leaves of the trees.
la luce al di là delle foglie, degli alberi,
The light behind the automobile.
la luce dietro anche alla macchina, le auto,
The light that is sustaining your house.
la luce che mantiene anche la tua casa.
It's all a projection of God's consciousness.
Tutto quanto è una proiezione della coscienza di Dio.
Everything is consciousness.
Alla fine ogni cosa è la coscienza.
And this is not very well known
E questa è una cosa non molto conosciuta
and not very commonly taught.
e non si insegna da nessuna parte.
But if you meditate on it,
Ma se tu mediti su questo,
you begin to understand why you can expand into a greater experience of creation.
tu cominci a capire come puoi entrare in una esperienza più grande della creazione.
And it's your birthright.
E questo è il tuo diritto di nascita.
Yogananda says, there's nothing to fear.
Yogananda dice non c'è niente da cui aver paura.
Practice your Kriya and be with God, he says.
Pratica il tuo kriya e sii con Dio.
And it will be a gradual awakening. Don't be fearful.
Sarà un risveglio graduale, non avere paura.
I remember years ago I had a lucid dream that was one of the most phenomenal experiences I've had.
Mi ricordo qualche anno fa ho fatto questo sogno luminoso, è una delle esperienze più fenomenali che ho mai avuto.
And as the next day I was reflecting on this experience.
Il prossimo giorno ho un po' pensato di questa esperienza.
It had nothing to do with these senses.
Non aveva niente a che fare con questi sensi.
It was all an experience of consciousness.
Era un'esperienza di coscienza.
And in the experience, I remembered thinking, is this real or what exactly is real?
E mi ricordo in questa esperienza mi stavo facendo la domanda, ma questo è reale? O se no, che cosa è che è reale?
Is this what we're experiencing now through our senses real? Or I ask myself, is that experience of light and of floating and of just this blissful ecstasy, or is that real?
È vero quello che sperimentiamo attraverso i nostri sensi qui? O invece la mia esperienza che è tutta una luce, un fluttuare, un galleggiare nella...
Gradually we have experiences that help us awaken.
Un po' alla volta abbiamo esperienze che ci aiutano a risvegliarci.
That lucid dream isn't really also the primary reality of my existence.
Neanche questo sogno luminoso o sveglio è veramente la realtà finale della mia esistenza.
My primary reality is cosmic consciousness.
La mia vera realtà è la coscienza cosmica.
The cosmic observer.
L'osservatore cosmico.
Read the experience in cosmic consciousness.
Prova a leggere spesso l'esperienza della coscienza cosmica rivelata nella spiritualità.
It helps us to realize it's okay to allow our awareness to begin to be aware of something greater than just this little form.
Convince che va bene sperimentare qualcosa di un po' più grande rispetto alla nostra piccola forma.
Not only is it okay, it's our destiny.
Non è solo ok, ma è pure il nostro destino.
He said, my consciousness became 360 degrees, my awareness.
E lui ha detto la mia consapevolezza era tipo a 360 gradi.
I could see through the stone wall and see the cow coming up Ragat Lane, he said.
Potevo vedere da dietro, attraverso il muro, sull'altro lato c'era una mucca che camminava su una strada Ragat Lane.
I could start to see the transparency of the earth beneath my feet.
E potevo anche vedere sotto i miei piedi, la terra era tutta trasparente.
But the point is that he never lost the sense of I.
Il punto è, non ha mai perso il punto del io.
I cognized literally as the universe, as the experience of the universe went through my heart, I cognized my heart as the point of this inferium or this experience.
Mentre questa esperienza, come attraversare il mio cuore, capivo che il centro di tutta questa esperienza era proprio un punto qui nel cuore.
So I want to leave you with this thought.
Vorrei lasciare ora con un pensiero.
It's not about destroying the ego.
Non si tratta del distruggere,
It's about expanding the ego into union with Spirit.
si tratta di espandere l'ego verso l'unione con lo spirito.
That's what the masters teach.
Ecco ciò che insegnano i maestri.
Enjoy your pizza.
Volete anche la vostra pizza?
Enjoy your friends.
Godete i vostri amici,
Love your children.
amate i vostri bambini.
It's not about negating this life.
Non si tratta di negare la vita,
It's about expanding the ego
si tratta di espandere l'ego
from body consciousness to spiritual consciousness.
dalla coscienza del corpo alla coscienza spirituale.
So for this new year,
Per questo nuovo anno,
I hope you embrace this teaching.
spero che tutti voi affacciate questo insegnamento.
And I hope you all become pillars of light for this world.
E spero che tutti voi diventate tipo pilastri di luce per questo mondo.
I mentioned the other day, every single one of us can have an effect.
E come ho detto ieri o l'altro giorno, ognuno di noi può avere un effetto.
When we see mass consciousness agitated, we see the weather even agitated.
Quando vediamo la coscienza di massa agitata, anche il tempo si agita.
If mass consciousness is calm,
Se invece la coscienza di massa si tranquillizza,
the very environment responds, Master said.
il nostro ambiente risponde, così dice il maestro.
So each one of us has a duty to try to find that peace and that light in ourselves.
Ognuno ha il dovere di trovare questa pace e questa luce interiore.
And each one of us begins to affect mass consciousness.
E ognuno di noi avrà un effetto sulla coscienza di massa.
And don't think your part is insignificant.
Non pensare mai che la tua parte è insignificativa.
Master said this movement will start as a zephyr and grow to a gale.
Ananda dice questo movimento comincia come una piccola ondina e poi diventa un'ondata enorme.
We just need to understand.
Dovete solo capire.
And then when we understand, we need to experience.
Quando abbiamo capito dobbiamo sperimentare.
And we experience by going into the silence
E sperimentiamo entrando nel silenzio,
and being in that light.
entrando in questa luce.
So happy New Year and happy Master's birthday.
Buon compleanno del maestro ancora.
Happy Kriya.
Felice Cristo.
Happy Eon.
Felice Cristo.
Grazie.
Om